This week's journey begins right here at Hartfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. And if I'm here in Atlanta, it makes perfect sense to fly with the airline that calls this place home, Delta. I'll be flying on board one of their Airbus A321 aircraft on a quick hop down to Miami in Florida to see what it's like flying domestically with the airline here in the USA. But before we get on board, let's go and have a look around the terminal building. Welcome to Blake Edgington Airborne. Let's get going. Today's journey begins at Atlanta's domestic terminal, which features this rather impressive entrance. Once inside, there's no mistaking that this is the home of Delta, and there are plenty of self-service check-in machines available. Now, Atlanta is a huge airport, and flights depart from 7 concourses which are connected by the very cleverly named plane train. Yes, I'm easily amused. Plane train, it is genius. Anyway, sadly for me, I only had a short journey to the A concourse, which is used for domestic flights. Now, 2 things struck me about this part of the airport. Firstly, there is absolutely no way I could forget which airline I was flying with. And secondly, despite the huge number of passengers travelling through here, it never really felt too crowded. If you are passing through, there are plenty of choices when it comes to food, with a number of well-known names represented. And of course, with Atlanta being the home of Coca-Cola, you shouldn't go thirsty either. Just don't ask for Pepsi, as you may well be removed from the airport. Well, probably not, but I wasn't going to risk it. So I had a couple of hours here in Atlanta Airport and I've really enjoyed it. There's plenty to see and do. It is massive though, so do bear that in mind when you're travelling through here. But it's of course that time. Let's head on board a flight. Delta is an airline that I've wanted to try ever since seeing a TV advert way back in the early 90s. I'll put a link to it in the description below, but it's still awesome and I'm over the moon to finally be on board one of Delta's 5,000 daily flights. And that figure alone gives you an idea of the sheer scale of Delta's operation. But if it's not impressive enough, how about this? Delta carries over 190 million passengers a year, with a fleet of over 900 aircraft flying to more than 300 destinations, including, of course, Miami. Delta operate frequent flights between Atlanta and Miami, with passengers having a choice of fare types depending on your budget or preferred class of travel. My main cabin booking cost me around $204, which isn't actually that bad a value because it covered 2 flights, one from Toronto to Atlanta and of course the second being this flight down to Miami. So what can you expect from a domestic Delta flight? Well, the A321 that I experienced can accommodate up to 192 passengers. I found the cabin to be in really good condition overall, and passengers benefit from individual reading lights and cool air vents above each row. The overhead lockers offer plenty of space, which was much needed on this very busy flight, and luckily for me, power was available under the seats. Like so many newer aircraft, the toilets are a little on the small side, but they were kept clean, which is all that really matters. The highlight of course was the seatback entertainment, and we'll take a look at that in some more detail soon. Firstly, it's time for the cabin service, and unlike many of my European flights, I could keep my wallet firmly closed as the wonderful Delta crew offered complimentary light refreshments. Alcohol is chargeable, but the choice of soft drinks was very impressive, and I went with a Sprite. Delta also offer a choice of stacks, and I couldn't say no to a Biscoff cookie, which features the Delta logo. Talk about clever brand placement. Very comfortable flight on board Delta's Airbus A321 today, but what's the seat like? Let's take a look now. And as always, we'll start at the top of the seat, which is where you'll find the large entertainment system. Again, we'll get to that soon, but it's worth pointing out that as well as power under your seat, there is a USB port on the screen and a headphone jack so you can enjoy the great content. Opening up the tray table, and there is ample space for your onboard refreshments, and it can be adjusted slightly for smaller passengers. There is of course also a place to keep your drink upright if things get a little bit bumpy during your trip. Further down the seat is where you'll find your storage, and there are two spaces in the seat pocket. The larger is for personal use, and a separate space containing Delta's safety card and in-flight magazine is provided. Now, legroom on this flight for someone 6 foot tall was quite impressive, and I have to say that I found the seat overall to be really comfortable on board the A321. Another big plus to this seat is the adjustable headrest, and I really do like the finish overall, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Now I need to explain something to my viewers from the US. You see, back home in the UK, airlines simply don't offer in-flight entertainment on domestic or European flights, so the system provided on board Delta was a real treat for me, and frankly it's brilliant. Delta offer a great range of programming with a selection of the latest movies, as well as multiple episodes of your favourite TV shows. There's also the option to watch live TV in flight. For enthusiasts like me, you can completely geek out too, with information about the aircraft and of course a route map to track your progress. Not only is the entertainment system great, but with Delta you can also take advantage of free messaging in flight. This means that, like me, you can bombard your wife with updates about how much fun you're having on board. To anyone who flies Delta regularly, I am very jealous of you. As we've just looked at entertainment, now seems like a good time to mention that as well as subscribing to my YouTube channel, you can also keep up to date with all of my trips as they happen by following me on social media. Details of my Facebook, Instagram and Twitter accounts are on screen now. And that's another flight in the books. We'll be on the ground in Miami soon. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video for my pros and cons. But for now, let's take a look out the window.
Welcome to Miami, where your local time is 2:37 p.m.
So here we are in Miami after that flight with Delta. Of course, now I'll share with you my final thoughts on the trip, and we'll start things off in Atlanta. And I am very impressed by the terminal I saw today. Considering how many passengers do fly through Atlanta every year, it never felt too crowded, which I really liked. And there was plenty to see and do in the terminal. Great selection of places to eat, for example. Also, I would say that all of the staff that I interacted with, including at security, were really friendly and helpful today, so it was a nice experience in the terminal. And then we come to the flight, and I have to say, overall, I was very impressed with Delta today. Starting off with the cabin, it was a really nice and modern finish to the cabin in my opinion, and the seat itself, I did like the look of it, as well as the comfort. The adjustable headrest was a nice touch, and I found the legroom to be very, very comfortable indeed. Plenty of space for me, particularly when you consider that when I did show you the seat area, the one in front of me was reclined, I still had plenty of space. It's also nice to have a free snack and drink on board. The Sprite that I had and the Biscoff cookie went down a treat on such a short journey. Something again that you don't see on all carriers in Europe, particularly British Airways, for example, my national airline. It's also a great feature to have in-flight entertainment. That really is novel to me. It's something you generally don't see at all back where I come from, and it was nice to be able to watch movies or even live TV. Really great touch, and of course the in-flight map is something that I always appreciate. I must give special mention to the crew. They were incredibly friendly from start to finish today, chatting away to passengers on board the aircraft. No question was too silly, and they did work very hard. But one thing I would say is I'm assuming it's procedure, but they did start the entire service from the front of the cabin, which meant that passengers like myself towards the rear didn't get served till well over halfway through the flight, and it was a bit of a rush after that to clear away ready for landing, so that's something I wasn't sure about. Also, something I have noticed on a previous flight here in the USA is the fact the cabin was kept dark for the duration of the flight. That may be normal over here, but it is quite odd to me. It's just one of those things, I guess, that you have to get used to. Obviously, for passengers trying to rest, it's a nice touch. So overall, will I fly Delta again? Absolutely I will. I really can't wait to try them again in future. And I hope you do let me know in the comment section below what you think of the airline. Whether good or bad, I do read them all. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, please do give me a thumbs up, and of course, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a future video. Most of all though, take care.